The presidential candidate of the governing All Progressives Congress, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, spoke at the prestigious think tank Chatham House in London. Amidst various questions and answers, Tinubu promised to tackle the deteriorating security situation in Nigeria head-on so that the country can also effectively provide security support for its neighboring nations.
Briefly, my name, first of all, is Tinubu Davis.
Mobile has attested to my record, a standing record. I got to the pinnacle of my career in the private sector. Who among them can brag about that? Now, yes, you want to wrestle with the pig, you got to live with the dirt. That's what I'm doing. I go into politics knowing fully well that it's a muddy water. Smog will come. You will have to live with the dirt and make sure you are upright to finish the job. Thank you. Any part of it that I didn't answer? That
one-to-one conversations.
One-to-one conversation. Excuse me.
Please, be quiet.
Why? I see myself as a marketable individual. Want to use me to make money, and I'm saying no.
A development analyst, Bola Olojede, joins us now to review the APC presidential candidate Bola Tinubu's outing at Chatham House. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us on Newsday.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'd like to have your impression about Tinubu's presentation at the Chatham House, considering the fact that he said it's been his lifelong ambition to become president of Nigeria. Did you get the impression that this is a man ready to serve, ready to hit the ground running, and tackle the myriad of challenges Nigeria is facing? What was your impression after watching that presentation?
Well, if we go by the speech, I mean, there was this fairly long speech that he gave. That was nice, but that was a speech. If we go by manifestos, yes, beautiful manifesto we have seen in the past. But where I think I have a little concern is the fact that as the CEO, as the prospective CEO of Nigeria, he ought to take up some of those questions he was pushing over to some of his team members. The stories around how this is supposed to be an evidence of an involving way of governance, that story is not particularly selling. The reason is that there is no expectation anywhere that because you want to become a president, you have become an expert in everything. No, that is not the expectation. However, it is believed that as that person who is going to lead the country, you must have a fair idea about the critical matters of state and be able to discuss them, be able to engage on them, not to push it to other members of the team. The message he may be sending across is not as positive as the members of his campaign team might be presenting it to be.
And as he fielded those questions to the members of his team, it also seemed as if that they were maybe a little bit caught off guard or not prepared. But I want to ask you specifically about the Chatham House as a venue. We know that it's a renowned venue for the independent thinking. It's an independent policy institute, trusted forum for debate and dialogue, and it's in the UK. During the question and answer session, Tinubu was asked about diaspora voting, in which he, fielded to another individual, and also just explained that it's not going to happen immediately. But what about the fact that he's all the way in London campaigning for a group of individuals who may or may not be able to vote in the upcoming elections, especially since he comes under a lot of criticism for not attending any of the town halls that are put together by, any other media team except for Arise. He has not shown up. So what do you make of those criticisms and the venue of Chatham House for this?
Yeah, Chatham House has become part of our history, especially in this Third Republic. OBJ was there, the late Yaradua was there, Jonathan was there, Buhari was there. So it's not exactly unexpected that Asiwaju Tinubu will be there, or that some of the other aspirants may still go there to have this kind of engagement that we're talking about. However, whether the engagement is at Chatham House or is in Nigeria, the expectation remains that the voters, the citizens, want to be able to see the presidential candidates, be on the podium and engage for a reasonably elongated period, where we can say, okay, this is the question, these are the answers, these are my views about what you're talking about, or this is how my government will approach this matter. Agreed. All these things might have been captured in the manifesto. But what is wrong with having those engagements one-on-one or with members of the public for 1 hour or even more? I think it is actually positive for him. There are all sort of rumors, for example, about his health. Some are even saying, maybe he tends to get tired with mental coordination or speech or articulation of his speech if put under some stress. So a good way to have, totally take that off the table is to actually be willing to have an engagement that is fairly long. Say an hour of engagement without all these, be the one, the campaign organization being the one that will put together those events. Go to a neutral event, be able to speak to the citizens and engage with them for a reasonable time. And then you can actually dispel totally all the issue of your health not being able to carry these things and all the rest. Should the matter of health be of importance to Nigerians? My answer will be yes. And if putting you on a stand, engaging with them is a way to test that, why not? Whether in Chatham or here in Nigeria, let's be able to do that. Otherwise, it starts to look as if we're having a conspiracy of silence in which there are things to hide and nobody is willing to talk about it. It is not good enough.
Now, one issue that Tinubu handled himself was his plan for the youths. He says he'll make student loans available, he'll invest in the education sector, he will employ more teachers. Can you tell us, what's your take on this, considering Nigeria's current state of education?
Fantastic. I think he was talking also in alignment with the manifesto of the party. We are at that stage where we need to critically overhaul education, not just at the ASU tertiary level, which is the one that, they go on strike, so they attract more attention. We also need to look even below the tertiary level of education and reform totally education infrastructure and teaching aids. Education curriculum. What are we even teaching this student? What are we teaching them? And then the third part has to do with the funding, especially when you go to the tertiary education side of it. There is the need to address the issue of funding. Part of the solution to that funding is the student loan. There's nothing that says if Ghana can structure student loan that Nigeria cannot. There's nothing that says so. Then we should also avoid a situation in which we keep certain things off the table. We don't want to discuss about them. So we have an education subsidy that nobody notices. Nobody knows in Nigeria that it is very cheap to train a doctor until you go into other clients and see what it takes to train a doctor. After we finish training this doctor, that subsidy is not captured anywhere. We finish training the doctor is unable to have a good placement here in Nigeria, and it goes away. So another country benefits from the subsidy that Nigeria has given the training of a doctor, for example. So all these things are telling us that we must totally re-engineer, revamp, rethink the education in Nigeria. And one of those things we must put in the mix of our discussion is the possibility of a student loan.
And he definitely touched on some other points as well. What do you make of his remarks on security and most especially election violence leading up to February 2023?
In my own conspiracy theory, what I see is the recent attack on INEC officers. It's a way some people are trying to push INEC from saying, oh, they've taken away 100,000 PVC. Therefore, these people will not be able to vote. Can we begin to consider possibility of voting without PVC? I think that is what they are trying to do. And INEC has been emphatic that, look, it doesn't matter what you do. Of course, they call in the security agencies to deal with the matter. There shall be no incident form in 2023. And the cards that were destroyed in a couple of the earlier attacks, that they will reprint them and make them available for use of those voters. So this is a very strong message to the politicians, because let's be honest with ourselves. It is not the hoodlums that are interested in destroying INEC office. It is politicians. The hoodlums are not on the ballot. They have no stake as far as to want to destroy INEC. It is politicians. So let these politicians, let's continue to drum it into the air. The security operatives should live up to the expectation, ensure that people will feel comfortable to step out on those voting days, while at the same time, there will be no voting without PVC. Let it be clear to those politicians who are busy trying to destroy our people.
Now, Mr. Olojede, did you get a sense of what Bola Tinubu's foreign policy will be like if he's lucky enough to win the presidential election? I know he talked about the fortunes of the African continent and the black race being tied directly to the health of Nigeria, but what else did you get from his speech at the Chatham House as regards this foreign policy?
Historically, Nigeria's foreign policy has been Africa-centric. And what he was saying was not particularly different. What was captured in the manifesto is also not particularly different. However, I think we need to play more of the geopolitics and understand better what is going on internationally. Otherwise, we're going to be perpetually tied to the apron of the colonialists who are still there. They could change form from west. They could go to the east, as represented by China. That colonialism is out there. And Africa must be able to step out there. Look at what is going on with oil and gas, the fossil fuel problem, in which countries in Africa may suffer tremendously if the transition were to happen suddenly from fossil fuel to renewable. So those kind of engagement, those kind of fight are things that must also feature prominently in the foreign policy of Nigeria. Being the largest black country, the most populous African country, we have to lead the way. And I think I get a semblance of talking about Nigeria playing that role of being the big father, being the most populous country in Africa as far as foreign policy is concerned.
And overall, what was your assessment or scorecard in how Tinubu did in terms of defending his manifesto and defending himself as a candidate for the upcoming elections? How would you score him?
I would say maybe a 6 over 10. And my primary reason for that is not because of the speech was very robust, manifesto is good and all of that, but the fact that he did not stand up to take up the question as the captain of the ship. You might have engaged with other members, the engineer and all the rest of them, but you are the CEO. Take full responsibility of your question. He did not do that.
Well, the Director of Strategic Communication of the APC Presidential Campaign Council, Dele Alaki, he says delegating questions to team members is one of the innovations of Bola Tinubu, where he says his main solid strength is identifying talents and team building. Is this explanation satisfactory? Is it even logical?
It's not. For example, he pushed the question on health to the woman leader. The woman leader, of course, is a health practitioner, but that was also the health practitioner that did not believe in COVID-19. And I also did not see, the robustness, the level of detail we have in that document, the manifesto. I didn't see her walk us through in such a robust manner at that event. So, honestly, while I believe that it's okay that you have experts all around you, we are not expecting him to be an expert in everything, but he must have enough understanding and be able to show enough understanding in all critical matters of state. That delegation is not a way to show that.
And as time goes on, I assume that the delegation will be more vocal and there will be more opportunities to engage with the APC frontrunner, in which he will employ many other individuals to assist him in answering those in-depth topics that the country are very, very interested in knowing about. What do you make of their performance, the delegates? Well, very briefly, what do you make of the burden of responsibility of those individuals who have to make sure that they have their ends covered in order to assist their candidate in order to win?
Well, I think the people he has surrounded himself with are doing a great job as far as policy formulation issues are concerned. If anybody picks a copy of the manifesto, for example, which obviously were put together by some of these team members, you'll see that it's a very robust document that we have there. In fact, if we can implement 50–60% of what we have in that document, this country will never remain the same. But we also know that it goes beyond document. I would like to see a situation in which all these works can be translated from manifesto into specific, measurable deliverables. So that if he becomes the president, if it's the one that becomes the president, or whoever is going to become the president, whatever they have stated in those manifestos can be translated into measurable deliverables for them, that we can check after 6 months, after 1 year, what you have done. I'm going to give you road. Let's translate it to, I will make 6,000 kilometers of road, 1,000 kilometers in each geopolitical region. That is measurable. It is ambiguous to just say, we will do roads. So translating those manifestos into measurable deliverables will be a critical part that we need to do. And those
Mr. Olojede, development analyst, thank you so much for joining us on Newsday. We do appreciate your analysis.